Does anyone else have a entourage or a group of people, maybe it's friends, maybe it's a community online, maybe it's even family, that seems to be so heavily invested in telling you that your idea is bad? Today I was thinking about this thought on while I was driving around, and it kind of hit me how much, and I even saw comments in the last couple videos like kind of hinting at this idea of like, well, every time I try to go at and I try to do something, there seems to be someone that has a problem with it. If I try to not be something, I'm the issue. If I'm trying to be something, I'm the issue. Like, we have so many voices, again, after the noise, the point of this channel, we have so many voices speaking into our head, telling us that whatever we're doing is wrong, or whatever we're not doing is wrong. So I wanted to kind of speak on this, and I wanted to attack two ideas that I kind of thought lead up to the reason why we have this battle with so many people and with ourselves. And I think that our problems come from optimism and pessimism. We have these ideas, like, we as people love to just throw ourselves into camps as quickly as we can. We're an introvert or we're an extrovert. We're this or we're that. We're rich or we're poor. Whatever we can do to label ourselves, we will do it as quickly as possible for some reason. It's so weird. But one of the things that I see myself do and my family members or my friends is the willingness to throw themselves into, oh, I'm optimistic, or oh, I'm pessimistic. And I've seen this with people at work too. Like, you can see the divide between the people who just live to always speak negatively and always speak like doom and gloom, and the people who are just have their heads so far up in the clouds, they're no use on earth whatsoever. They're so thought about whatever it is in their mind that's so great and grand that you just can't talk to them. They're just useless. So I think with like moving forward and understanding this, it's the idea that optimism, first off, is fake. You can imagine the business, the relationship, the body, the calling, the channel, the life, whatever. But if you never sit down and take the time to ask what road I have to travel down to lead me to that, you're just wasting your time. If you just spend every moment thinking about all these great and grand ideas and you never have anything tangible that comes of it, you're just living a fantasy. And sometimes that kind of hurts, and that hurt. I know for me that's kind of I have a lot of ideas that always float around, and what I often find so interesting is I start off very optimistic, and I'm like, oh wow, I can do this. This is great. I'm going to make all this money. And then when I try to go at it with absolutely no plan, no direction, I'm just like, oh, I'm going to do this right now. I immediately hit a roadblock, and then I become the ultimate pessimist, and I'm just like, oh, it's so doom and gloom. I'm never going to do anything. I'm never going to become anything. And that's like the double sword of optimism and pessimism. Like, optimism is just often fantasy in your mind. And then pessimism is also fake, and more often it's the most fake out of the two. Like, more of our problems in our culture now is that we love to just find the worst possible outcome. And I think this really hits hard after COVID, like between all that mess that happened and we were just ready for the world to end so quickly. Everyone was on board with just everything dying. And then we kind of never have escaped that negative outlook on life. Pessimism pretends to be realistic. It sounds mature. It sounds experienced. It sounds like wisdom. But most of the time, it's fear. And you can know that it's fear because it always attacks movement. If you got it in your head that you can't take a step in a certain direction with your idea or your goal, then you're owned by fear. And this is, we talked about this in the video before, how like fear always attacks the desire to make the next step. If you are stuck in analysis paralysis, you don't want to even try. You just have already admitted defeat. But to add on top of this, between optimism and pessimism, you'll have your own problems with that. But just like what I started off in the beginning of this video, is that we let other people's bad news dictate our entire lives. We let it be the authority. People who tell you how to live without being invested in your life are basically betting on you like a horse race. You know those people that go up to a race or whatever and they bet on which horse they think is going to win? That's what, when you let other people talk about how either that you're so great and you're so grand and you're going to do so much with your life, or you let people say, oh, you're not going to ever amount to everything. And oftentimes you'll find more pessimistic people than you'll find optimistic, but it goes the same way. People who like boost your ego and people who try to shoot you down and chew you down, they're both doing the same thing. They're not invested in your life. They have nothing out of this if you fail or if you succeed. They're betting on you. You're just an odd. You're just something they want to watch and have fun, either watch it crash and burn or do successful. Like, they don't really care. And that's hard to think about towards your family, maybe. That's hard to think about maybe towards your best friend or your community or whatever that you're involved in. But these people in your life, by human nature, can't be invested fully. Like, your mother and your father possibly are going to be the most invested, and maybe that's not the case for most people. So if they are not even, if some of the people that have like birthed you and taken care of you and fed you your whole life aren't even capable of investing fully, then what is the rest of the world going to be able to do? Don't let other people talk into your life. Take their ideas, take their advice with a grain of salt. Be like, oh, I didn't think about it that way. I'm going to consider that. But don't immediately let it become law. And I think this is something that I struggle with so badly, is the moment I get a negative word, I shoot myself down and I just tell myself I'm worthless and I can't do anything. And the moment I have someone come around and they're like, oh, I like how you look, or oh, I like your hairstyle, oh, I like this about you, oh, I like that you're always like on time or whatever, I immediately get this huge ego boost and I think I'm on top of the world. And instead of actually going and maybe taking that compliment and being like, oh, I'm doing good here, I should continue to work harder to be more impressive, to do more in my life, I just take the compliment and I flatter myself and I feel so amazing for the rest of the day, but I don't actually use that as fuel to go do something. And an attack or an insult, I don't take that insult and be like, there's people against me, let me keep moving forward. I know that this is the right direction. Whether hell or high water, I'm going to get through this and I'm going to figure out for myself if it's truth. And that's what realism is. That's what like being realistic is about, is mapping out your own but maybe truth. I believe in kind of a more absolute truth, and I'm not going to get into that, but for most of our lives, we just take everyone else's word as doctrine and law instead of coming up with our own, instead of trying to figure out our own list of rules or things that we want to accomplish. We let everyone else talk into our lives, and we don't take the time to speak into ourselves, to map out our own destiny, to map out our own future. When you are trying to be realistic, the practical way, the attack to do this, to become more of a realistic person, to not let overconfidence and pessimism get in the way, is you have to write it down. You have to make something tangible out of this. If you're wanting to find a way to maybe accomplish more in your life, because when we get so optimistic, when we think that we're capable of conquering the world, we waste years of our lives in a fantasy, dreaming up of all the magical ways that everyone's going to pat us on the back, and they don't care. No one's going to be there at the end of the road except you and your accomplishments. When all is said and done, when you've succeeded with all that you want to do, no one's going to be there to just give you a handshake, to pat you on the back. And if they do, you might as well distrust them because they probably want something from you. Like, think about the end goal. If your goal is to become rich and famous, more than likely the people that are going to be surrounding your life are going to be people that want your money. And it's not me trying to be cynical. That's not me trying to like shoot it down, but you have to do this. You have to be realistic for your own good. I have to be realistic for my own good. And you can start that. We can start that. I have started that by writing down my ideas and my thoughts and my goals. You think it's so dumb. You think it's so, like, I thought it was such a waste of time. But when you take the time to write it down, overconfidence and pride immediately gets humbled because you see fully what it might take to do this. And then pessimism immediately gets challenged because you're like, oh, this is capable. It'll just be very, very difficult. And this reminds me of a verse in the book of Luke in the Bible, chapter 14. Verse 28, where Jesus is speaking to a crowd and he's saying, for which of you who intends to build a tower doesn't sit down first and count the cost, whether he has sufficient funds to finish it. Unless after he lays down the foundation and is not able to finish it, and everyone who beholds what he's done begins to mock him, saying, "This man began to build and was not able to finish." Or what king going to war against another king doesn't sit down first and counsel with his people, whether he is able with 10,000 men to meet the king that comes against him with 20,000? Or when he decides this while the other king is yet far away, he sends a diplomat and desires conditions of peace. So likewise, whoever he be of you that forsaketh not all that he has, he cannot be my disciple. Where Jesus talks about the idea of counting the cost. In Christianity, this very important idea of being able to actually consider what it takes to follow Jesus Christ, what it takes to actually be a disciple, the sacrifices that it takes. This doesn't just apply to Christianity. This is a law of life where if you cannot take the time to sit down and count out the cost, what it's going to take you, what kind of person you have to become in order to attain this. With Christianity, we have to decide, what kind of person do I have to become to be a disciple of Christ, the ultimate goal of every human being. But this boils down in smaller areas of our life where it's like, what is it going to actually take me to become? What kind of discipline and sacrifice and blood and sweat and tears am I going to have to pour out in order to achieve this goal? At the end of the day, you have to make your ideas your responsibility, because letting someone else decide what's possible is comfortable in the moment because you have someone to blame, but you lose the one thing that could have made you the most dangerous version of yourself, and that's becoming someone who can take ownership of his faults and his talents. So write out your ideas. Ask yourself, when you have your idea, when you have your goal, write it down. Then ask yourself, what do I actually want? Like, is this, if you just say, I want $1 million, that's not a goal. Like, actually ask yourself, what do I want? All right, I want $1 million. How do I get that? How do I realistically get that? And start breaking down ideas from there. And then ask yourself, okay, what are challenges to this idea? Okay, I want $1 million, but I don't really know this certain skill or that certain skill or these kind of people or that. Write out those things, and that will help challenge the overconfidence. Be like, okay, this is going to take work. This is going to take hard work. And then at the end of all of that, ask yourself from that goal, what is one ugly, boring thing, one ugly, boring step I can take toward this goal this week? Can I enroll in some sort of class? Can I meet up with someone I know? Can I improve some way, somehow, in one boring, ugly way? And I will tell you that the road to anything in life is full of boring, ugly steps. And that is reality. That is the unfortunate part. And you can take that and you can run and hide in the corner of your room and say, no, it's not true, and live in a fantasy world. Or you can just go into the other side of the room and live in a nightmarish world where you just say, oh, there's no use in ever trying anything. I'm worthless. I'm never going to move. I'm never going to try to do anything. Or you can pick yourself up. And I'm speaking to myself too. Don't let it sound like I'm preaching. You can pick yourself up, drag yourself from the bootstraps, and realize, okay, the road towards anything in life is full of hardship and sacrifice, but it's all towards that goal, towards that aim that I'm shooting for. Do not believe optimism and do not believe pessimism. Believe the map of your surroundings and your life that you have created in your journal, in your time of deep thought on the goals and the aspirations that you have. If you like this video, I really appreciate you watching it all the way to the end, and I would ask that you would please comment your opinion on this subject. Agree, disagree, please let me know. This is a environment that I want to produce where we talk and have debate and not just having one person's opinion. So if there's something that you just vehemently did not like, let me know. If there's something you really enjoyed, I would appreciate the encouragement if you have it. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.